Hello, friends. Welcome to the Little Woman podcast. This time, Cecilia and I continue our discussion on the chapter On the Shelf, which is about John and Meg learning to be new parents. People often ask me who is my favorite March sister. I don't think I have a favorite. I like them all equally. Most people would probably say Jo, and also child Beth was my favorite. I started to think, who is the sister who I see myself the most? And I have to say it is Meg. I do have things in common with all the sisters. I work as an illustrator, so Amy and I have love for art in common. I like cats. I'm a more introverted person, which makes me similar to Beth. I also like to read, and I have dated philosophers. So I have some things in common with Jo. Being a tomboy and Jo's love for boys, that is something that I don't share that much. Nothing wrong with that. Meg is very calm. She's a good listener. She's a bit of an overachiever. All things I can relate to. And this next bit is going to make me sound like I am a 70-year-old grandma. I don't know how to make jello, but I have made chewies from berries. I love baking. I like to attend my herbs. And I like to do embroidery. I'm not a mother, but kids like me. So from the March sisters, I might be Meg. Let me know who is the sister that you identify yourself with. Little Woman podcast episode transcripts can also be bought as books and book collections. You can find paperbacks on Amazon and ebooks from my Little Woman podcast Gumroad shop. You can find all the links from the description. This is Little Woman podcast analyzing the chapter On the Shelf.
It's that naughty boy. I told him to go to sleep alone, and here he is downstairs, getting his death cold pattering over the canvas, said Meg, answering the call. "Money now," announced Demi in a joyful tone as he entered with his long nightgown gracefully festooned over his arm, and every curl bobbing gaily as he pranced about the table, eyeing the cakeys with loving glances. "No, it isn't morning yet. You must go to bed and not trouble poor Mamma. Then you can have the little cake with sugar in it." "Relax, Papa," said the artful one, preparing to climb the paternal knee and revel in forbidden joys. But John shook his head and said to Meg, "If you told him to stay up there and go to sleep alone, make him do it, or he will never learn to mind you." Yes, of course, tell Demi." And Meg led her son away, feeling a strong desire to spank the little Margaret who hopped beside her, laboring under the illusion that the bribe was to be administered as soon as they reached the nursery. "This kid is a bit of a gas."
John could be a great host of Super Nanny.
Yeah. Nor was he disappointed, for that short-sighted woman actually gave him a lump of sugar, tucked him into his bed, and forbade any more promenades till morning, sent Demi the perjured, gracefully sucking his sugar, and regarding his first attempt as eminently successful. Meg returned to her place, and supper was prepared pleasantly, when the little ghost walked again and exposed the maternal delinquencies by boldly demanding, "More sugar, Mama?" "Now this won't do." John, hardening his heart against the engaging little sinner. "We shall never know any peace till that child learns to go to bed properly. You have made a slave of yourself long enough. Give him one lesson, and then there will be an end of it. Put him in his bed and leave him, Meg." "He won't stay there. He never does unless I sit by him." "I'll punish him. Demi, go upstairs and get into your bed as Mappa bids you." "Start!" replied the young rebel, helping himself to the coveted tiki, and beginning to eat the same with calm audacity. "You must never say that to Papa. I shall carry you if you don't go yourself. Go away. We don't love Papa." And Daddy retied his mother's skirts for protection. But even that refuge proved inavailing, for he was delivered over to the enemy with a "Be gentle with him, John," which struck the culprit with dismay, for when Mamma deserted him, that the judgment day was at hand. Bereft of his cake, defrauded of his frolic, and borne away by a strong hand to that detested bed, poor Davy could not restrain his wrath, but openly defied Papa, and kicked and screamed lustily all the way upstairs. The minute he was put into bed on one side, he rolled out of the other, and made for the door, only to be ignominiously caught up by the tail of his little toga, and put back again, which nightly performance was kept up till the young man's strength gave out, when he devoted himself to roaring at the top of his voice. This vocal exercise usually conquered Meg, but John sat as the post which is popular believed. It no coaxing, no shovel, no lullaby, no story. Even the light was put out, and only the red glow of the fire illumined the big tile, which Demi regarded with curiosity rather than fear. This new order of things disgusted him, and he howled dismally for Mamma. As his angry passions subsided, shares of his tender bondwoman returned to the captive autocrat. The plaintive wail which succeeded the passionate roar went to Meg's heart, and she ran up to say beseechingly, "Let me stay with him. He'll be good now, John." It's funny.
It is.
I find this whole thing hilarious. Even if Debbie as a 1-year-old baby shouldn't be talking, that little, but he's funny. And there's this reference, to make us a slave, and he's an autocrat. Like, oh, no.
I know Louisa May sometimes struggled with the label of being a children's author, but I think she has a way writing about children that is so adorable that I think she really nailed it.
It's very cute. And this is also one of the things that, was a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old, this is boring. But if you're an adult and have ever been around any toddlers, oh no, I know a child like this.
Yeah, I know lots of children that are like this. And I know their parents who struggle because their children are like this.
One of my nieces, she's 3 years old, and she's very difficult to make her go to bed. She's terrible, and she does this sort of thing, the winning smiles, the cocky comments, and they're like, oh.
Very real. No, my dear, I've told him he must go to sleep, as you bid him, and he must, if I stay here all night. But he'll cry himself sick, pleaded Meg, reproaching herself for deserting her boy. No, he won't. He's so tired. He will soon drop off, and then the matter is settled, for he will understand that he has got to mind. Don't interfere. I'll manage him. He is my child, and I can't have his spirit broken by harshness. He is my child, and I won't have his temper spoiled by indulgence. Go down, my dear, and leave the boy to me." When Jo spoke in that masterful tone, Meg always obeyed, and never regretted her docility. "Please let me kiss him once, John." Certainly. Demi, say good night to Mamma and let her go and rest, for she is very tired with taking care of you all day. Meg always insisted upon it that the kiss won the victory, for after it was given, Demi sobbed more quietly and lay quite still at the bottom of the bed, whither he had wriggled in his anguish of mind. Poor little man, he is worn out with sleep and crying. I'll cover him up, and then go and set Meg's heart at rest, thought John, creeping to the bedside, hoping to find his rebellious hair asleep. But he wasn't, for the moment his father peeped at him, Demi's eyes opened, his little chin began to quiver, and he put up his arms, saying with a penitent hiccough, "Me stood now." Sitting on the stairs outside, Meg wondered at the long silence which followed the uproar, and after imagining all sorts of impossible accidents, she slipped into the room to set her fears at rest. Demi lay fast asleep, not in his usual spread-eagle attitude, but in a subdued bunch, cuddled close in the circle of his father's arm, and holding his father's finger, as if he felt that justice was tempered with mercy, and had gone to sleep a sadder and wiser baby. So held John had waited with womanly patience, till the little hand relaxed its hold, and while waiting had fallen asleep, more tired by the tussle with his little son than with his whole day's work. It's really adorable.
The whole thing that John thinks he did it because he laid alone, and Mary's like, no, I did it because I gave him that kiss.
Yes.
That did it, Jane. It's so nice, like you see people and old couples all the time go on like that way, like, now I did it because such and such, and no, I did it because...
That is true.
And the fact that one struggle with a little child is more tiring than a whole day of work. You spend a few hours with a child, and it's like, wow, I haven't been so exhausted in my life since the last time I was several hours.
They have so much energy in that age. And I remember when I was working as a teacher, I was so tired every day just for spending time with 3 and 4 years old. And, I loved them, but I was so tired afterwards.
Yes, exactly. They always make me think that, the idea for the Matrix. In the Matrix like this, the machines have the humans to use them for biochemical energy. Like, that was a teacher. That was a teacher looking at 3-4-year-olds and said, if only I plug them into machine and suck out all their energy for themselves. As Meg stood watching the two faces on the pillow, she smiled to herself, and then slipped away again, saying in a satisfied tone, I never need fear that John will be too harsh with my babies. He does know how to manage them, and will be a great help, for Demi is getting too much for me. When John came down at last, expecting to find a pensive or reproachful wife, he was agreeably surprised to find Meg placidly trimming a bonnet, and to be greeted with the request to read something about the election. He was not too tired. John saw in a minute that a revolution of some kind was going on, but wisely asked no questions. Knowing that Meg was such a transparent little person, she couldn't keep a secret to save her life, and therefore the clue would soon appear. He read a long debate with the most amiable readiness, and then explained it in his most lucid manner, while Meg tried to look deeply interested, to ask intelligent questions, and keep her thoughts from wandering from the state of the nation to the state of her bonnet. In her secret soul, however, she decided that politics were as bad as mathematics, and that the mission of politicians seemed to be calling each other names. But she kept these feminine ideas to herself, and when John paused, shook her head, and said, with what she thought diplomatic ambiguity, "Well, I really don't see what we're coming to." John laughed and watched her for a minute, as she poised a pretty little preparation of lace and flowers at her head, and regarded it with a genuine interest, which his harangue had failed to awaken. "She's trying to like politics for my sake, so I try and like military for hers. That's only fair," thought John the Just, adding aloud, "That's very pretty. Is that what you call a breakfast cap? My dear man, it's a bonnet. My very best go-to concert and the theater bonnet. I beg your pardon, it was so small, I naturally mistook it for one of the fadeaway things you sometimes wear. How do you keep it on? These bits of lace are fastened under the chin with a rosebud sew." And Megan illustrated by putting on the bonnet and regarding him with an air of cold satisfaction that was irresistible. "It's a love of a bonnet, but I prefer the face inside, for it looks young and happy again." And John kissed the smiling face, to the great detriment of the rosebud under the chin.
I like this part. Meg says that Demi is getting too much for May because she realizes that she really does need help with him, not so much with Daisy, but with him. Kind of barrels with what Mommy said earlier, but this is the moment when she starts to accept the help.
Yourself and not feel guilty about it. Progress. And this idea that she's listening to politics and she's like, no, all these politicians, they are only there to talk and call up names, but I'm gonna keep it to myself.
That is such a political answer to say.
Yeah, she does better politics. Then there's this sweet bit of John saying, it's fair. She tried to interest herself in politics, so I should try to take an interest in the things that interest her. This is also such a thing that I think is relevant today. People look a lot for a person that shares their same tastes and their same hobbies and such. And we don't talk as much about making an interest or things that your significant other really likes or enjoys that you don't care about. They care about it, so I can give it a try, and then the expectation that, well, I'm interested in their things, so it's fair that they would take an interest in mine, like.
Because we often see how, Jo and Fredrik, they do have lots of things that they are both interested, and same with Amy and Laurie. Then I started to think that are there things that they are interested that the other one is doing that is fascinating to them. I think there are lots of things. Jo had always this appreciation to German culture, but I think it just became a much bigger thing to her when she began a relationship with the German.
The first draft for the 1994 movie script, how it was a little thing that didn't make it to the movie. It's that sad for me how Jo picks up German expressions at her time in New York. When she comes home, she uses them, and there's this context, and she tells Bessie about a beer house she went to, and the colors that they wear, the things that the immigrants do. I think that was a nice detail.
Gosh, I love that. I hadn't heard that before. So it's in the 1994 script draft. Wow.
I think it's a very nice shortcut to show that growing love for Germany, German things, and Friedrich in particular that Jo undergoes. It was clever, and I'm sad. I don't know why he didn't make it.
It kind of continues when Friedrich moves to America, because he mentions a lot of times in the sequels of there are these and these American things that he enjoys.
Where I want you to take me to one of the new concerts some night. I really need some music to put me cheer. Will you, please? Of course I will, with all my heart, or anywhere else you like. You have been shut up so long. It will do you no end of good, and I shall enjoy the full things. What put it into your head, little mother? Well, I had a talk with Mammy the other day, and told her how nervous and cross and out of sorts I felt. And she said I needed change and less care. Also, Hannah is to help me with the children, and I'm to see things about the house more, and now and then have a little fun, just to keep me from getting to be a fidgety, broken-down old woman before my time. It's only an experiment, John, and I want to try it for your sake, as much as for mine, because I have neglected you shamefully lately, and I'm going to make home what it used to be if I can. You don't object, I hope. Never mind what John said, or what very narrow escape the little bonnet had from utter ruin. All that we have any business to know is that John did not appear to object, judging from the changes which gradually took place in the house and its inmates. It was not all paradise by any means, but everyone was better for the division of labor system. The children throve under the paternal rule, for accurate, steadfast John brought order and obedience into babydom, while men recovered their spirits and composed their nerves by plenty of wholesome exercise, a little pleasure, and much confidential conversation with her sensible husband. Home grew home-like again, and John had no wish to leave it, unless he took Meg with him. The Scots came to the Brooks now, and everyone found the little house a cheerful place, full of happiness, content, and family life. Even Kate Sally Moffat liked to go there. It's always so quiet and pleasant here, it does me good, Meg, she used to say, looking about her with wistful eyes, as she tried to discover the charm that she might use it in her great house, full of splendid loneliness. For there were no riotous, sunny-faced babies there, and Ned lived in a world of his own, where there was no place for her. This household happiness did not come all at once, but John and Meg had found the key to it, and each year of married life taught them how to use it, unlocking the treasuries of real home love and mutual helpfulness, which the poorest man may possess and the rich cannot buy. This is the sort of shelf on which young boys and mothers may consent to be laid, safe from the restless fret and fever of the world, finding loyal lovers in the little sons and daughters who cling to them, undaunted by sorrow, poverty, or age, walking side by side through fair and stormy weather with a faithful friend, who is, in the true sense of the good old Saxon word, the house parent, and learning, as men learned, that a woman's happiest kingdom is home, and her highest honor the art of ruling it not as a queen, but as a wise wife. See that thing I was mentioning, that there's another fade to black here. Like, don't ask what happened, what John said. It doesn't matter. It's not our business. But the little bonnet had a very narrow escape.
So now we have Two official John and Meg sexy sweet little woman. I'm going to write it down here if anyone is going to ask me.
Again, it's sort of funny because there's this trend like with Jane Austen, and we need to make a more sexy Jane Austen with nudity and sex and whatever. I'm like, it's right there. You have never done the PG-13 version of this novel. The material is right there, it's canon.
Exactly, it's canon. And somebody once commented like, there are no sex scenes in Little Women or making out scenes. And I took a screenshot of that scene in Joe's Boys where Joe and Friedrich are making out, and I sent it to this person and they blocked me. So that's what happens to people who don't respect the canon.
It sounds a bit shocking, that you're making this up. But the thing is, Victorian literature can't be said explicitly, and no, and then they went and make love to each other for several hours. And that's not the way how they write. I have mentioned it before, North and South. And in North and South, Elizabeth Gaskell says that two characters are having some delicious silence between them. and they're making out. That's what is happening there, because there was just a love confession, and they were like with their faces really close to each other, and just so after some delicious silence.
I love that.
There's no other way of reading that scene. It's not like they in silence looking at each other without touching for several minutes.
And that's really the only way that Victorian writers could get away with that, is that they would not say things directly because it was forbidden.
It's not like you're looking too much into it. The cues are there. You're not going to get an explicit version of the thing, because that's not how the literature of the time works. And you gotta say, oh, perhaps it wasn't like sex in that scene. It was just, make a session, but okay, but there was something happened there.
This is a really sad part about Sally Moffat. It seems that she's not able to get pregnant. I don't really remember if there was like love marriage between Sally and Ned, or was it because of money?
I don't really know, because I think it's just mentioned, tacit, like at Meg's wedding, I think.
Yes.
There were Ned and Sally that had been recently married, were in attendance. There's never a lot of detail. I think because Ned was at some point going around Meg, and it was worrying me.
Yes.
But then he turns to Sally, and there's not much of it. The idea I get from this chapter is that really he is out closing off. Like, he's really choosing, okay, I have my books and you have the house, and because there's no indication that Meg could have helped her or could have advised her to do things differently. So you get this sense that it wasn't Sally pushing Ned away, and more like Ned was pushing Sally away.
Yeah, do you think Sally was Meg's best friend?
It's complicated.
Yeah.
Friends are quote-unquote friends. The way like workers are friends, or friends. Yeah, was she Sally's friend?
It's difficult because Meg is from a poor family. Sally is a very rich girl. She comes from a very wealthy background. It feels a lot of times like a pity friendship, that Sally pities Meg. Sometimes I feel that Sally also likes Meg because of the way Meg is, but then sometimes I feel like it's more like Emma, and that poor girl in Jane Austen's book. Harriet, yeah.
The Marches were rich ones, so they come from the same background. But as the Marches became poor, fell into genteel poverty, as I say, there's like a vacuum there, you know. They belong, but they don't.
Like they become outcasters in the community.
They aren't part of say, a middle class, of a low middle class. Rich people either. They aren't upper class because they lost their money, but they come from a money background. So they live in a sort of limbo, of social limbo. At least I see that way. So Sally, I think, has that sort of complicated relationship that, well, yes, Meg is one of us, but she's not one of us.
That's one of my favorite scenes in the 1994 film, when she is with the rich girls, and they're like, oh, they used to be rich, but now they are poor. And Meg just like swallows all of that. When it comes to child labor, then she begins to defend herself and her family. But yeah, you're right, it's a limbo where they are living in. And Meg suffers more than the other sisters because she remembers it better.
So those visits of Sally Moffat are like that. She cannot say she's visiting, like doing charity, like the way the Marches visit the Hummels. It's not that sort of relationship, but she's also visiting a young woman living in a cottage with far more reduced means than herself.
I think it's interesting how Louisa May Alcott often treats rich characters. She doesn't always have very good views on them. Yeah, I think her message essentially is that money doesn't make a person happy.
Money doesn't bring happiness. You can climb the ladder and live that life, but if you don't make something honest and charitable and productive with your money and position, you will end up sad and alone.
Mr. Lawrence, he gets his redemption because he doesn't visit the Marches just to relieve his conscience. He goes there because he likes them.
In Mr. Lawrence, there's also a lot of grief. When you think the cool thing about his strained relationship with Laurie's dad, his difficulty to relate to Laurie because of it, his fears, the granddaughter he lost, which means he lost other relatives, a wife, and other children. There's so much grief. Beth just like brings you part your life into him. She plants a seed that it grows. So at least it's really impressive how much Beth is at the core of the novel, because she doesn't seem much. She's a force there for growth, for nurturing, for love, for unity.
She helps him to leave the guilt behind him. Well, the guilt doesn't never go away, but she helps him to cope with that in a more healthy way.
And look forward, and at the end he starts getting involved in those projects Laurie and Amy have, and he draws close to Amy too. And so there's that dynamic of giving back, of helping a struggling artist, of founding a school.
I think it was you who said that each of the couples have their own aesthetics. Like Meg has this cottage core, and then Jo and Fredrik are not so interested in having any kind of style necessary, and then Amy and Laurie are more artistic and royals of Concord.
there's a lot of words. It's the word written and spoken predominating that relationship between Jo and Fritz. And Laurie and Amy, it's filled with visual imagery. And you get all those lovely descriptions of fall roles and all these places that you go. And the proposal is more about the lake and the rowing, and you making that lovely mental picture of the place and time.
And it's even called, one of the chapters called New Impressions. So it really is all about that visual style the couple has.
I always love that detail in the book, that way that Fritz has been following Jo's writing, has found her poem, and it is her poem, it's her words that bring him to her. And it is his words that touch a tender spot in Jo, that book where he writes the dedication that says, "Wait for me, my friend. I may be a little late, but I shall surely come." There's so much to the word, the books, the poetry.
I love the fact that they were in letter exchange after Jo returned from New York. It's one of those things that is not in the adaptations because they just make them fight, which doesn't make any sense to me. But like in the book, they write these long letters to one another. What happens in their lives after they have separated their ways. And then he finds out that Beth has died, and Jo is lonely. He still doesn't know if Jo and Laurie are engaged. It's a happy surprise to him that when he finds out that she's not. Was it so that you were a philosophy teacher? So you do have a common point with Fritz Bear?
Yes, it's funny sometimes because when they tried, like 2017, they tried to introduce philosophy talk. So they picked a German philosopher and they went with Hegel. And I'm like, no. No. You try, like, and you can start for trying, but you have different things. Yeah, there's that element. I think philosophy allows you to, in a way, similarly to literature, to see certain themes and ideas. It's not professional pride, but I think many boys will benefit from having a philosophy consultant. So you can have something. Like one of the things I really like about 1984 is how it incorporates transcendentalism with photography and sets and like the use of nature.
Yeah, they do it in very subtle ways in the visualities of the film. Like they have this arch where in Meg's wedding, and it was based on something that Bronson Alcott had built for his daughter's wedding. There are little details like that in the 1994 film.
Or the peonies, like the flowers.
Yes.
How even if this transcendentalist idea that man is more himself when he's in contact with nature. And so even if this John Fritz's relationship must happen in New York, the movie puts flowers as something that it's continually present in the relationship. Like he brings her some coffee, and he brings it with flowers, and then she has his flowers when she brings in her novel to read, and then when she writes Little Women, her attic, she puts a flower. When she's done, she puts a flower in the ribbon she used to fasten the sheets.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that sort of detail that I think is very cute. And then on the other hand, the ever hated 2019 adaptation. I have things I like about it. Very small, very substantial things. I think Gerwig does right. Like, but there are bits like she's good at some small bits, but when she tries to go meta, she just misses. Like this scene where Beth is playing and Mr. Lawrence is crying. I think that was very touching me feel that I liked. Or when Rami has this soldier that sent his 4 sons to war. And I think how that man was filmed was touching, and also Mrs. Hamill being very young. But it's that very sort of scene by scene thing. Like it's details, but when it comes to the theme, she misses because she doesn't understand the themes or the context of the novel. For example, the whole thing about how part 2 is all this sad and dreary thing, and how adulthood sucks, and how the world is meaningless, and it's like, well, yes, it is for us, for postmodern philosophy, it's that way, but the world Luisa May Alcott is writing, it's not. We are still modern times, it's modernity, so we think the future has promise, the future is brighter, that we will get together and solve problems and get better quality of life, get better medicine, etc., etc., etc. I think all of that is missed because there's no even a basic philosophical understanding of the context of the novel.
I think it was all about money, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, there's the strong element of it in Sony trying to cash again. But you can do a cashing adaptation without going that far away from the original spirit of the work. Even in that basic sense of understanding this modern novel that works within a modern framework.
Yes.
Because I don't think that was intentional. That's the point. That whole thing about adulthood being sad, I do think it's not an intentional translation of the work to modern categories. I just think he thought part 2 was sad.
That itself is a sad notion about Louisa May Alcott as a writer, because, in the book, childhood was not like happy and sunny. There were so much struggle. Perhaps misreading Laurie's character was the worst part of it. And Jo's. Because she was like, Jo wants to stay as a child and Laurie wants her to be an adult. When I got into that point, I felt that she hadn't read the book at all. She had only watched the adaptations. So I don't know what her point was.
It's a rather protectionist way of seeing the characters. So Laurie wants to marry, so he's 40, so he's a grown up. And I'm like, no. He's studies, but mentally he's a teenage boy. Of course, he's horny. And at that time, he wants to marry. But even then, he wants a map of. If you're really reading the book, you understand that he's looking in Jo for a map. Imagine you're read it superficially, you miss all those cues. It's like, no, that's not maturity. It's filled up with all those sorts of contradictions, where it's an amazing thing that Jo has all this asexual coding, but then Laurie's more adult than her because he wants sex. Okay? it's good and we give it asexual people representation? Or are we making it so that asexuality is just immaturity? Pick one side, Greta. Pick one. You cannot have both.
That's why I have this podcast, and that's why you are a guest here, because you are like one of my favorite Little Woman experts in the fandom.
Oh, thank you. I'm very happy, very honored to have been invited in.
And I think Meg and John, they get cut out so often that people are a bit confused about their relationship. And it's not just the movies, but in the fandom in general, because people kind of see them a bit boring compared to the other couples. So it's nice to study them a bit more.
So set aside the time for them, and it's very, very good that you take this opportunity to talk about them.
After reading this chapter now a couple of times, it gives another dimension to their couple dynamics. Even though I knew it before, it always gives something new when I read it more in depth. Do you have anything else to add where we can find your stuff about Little Woman or other philosophical thoughts?
You can find me on Tumblr. You can go find me on Tumblr if you want. Dear listeners, it's that's currentplaycatcher.tumblr.com. Yeah, that's how you can reach me out. Otherwise, I'm a hermit, and I'm so happy to have been invited and to have had this talk. And see you there if you go. And thank you for inviting me.
It was so nice to have you here. Like, we've known each other like maybe 4 years now. It was great to have you here. I hope that was our discussion. Thank you so much for listening. Take care and make good choices. Bye.